Hey guys, welcome to Nurse B86's channel. Today's topic is going to be about Africans versus Africans. Okay, so uh, the first instance, African versus Africans is going to be those who face each other when we're all abroad. Okay, so it could be anywhere, London, America, Europe, anywhere, so long as it's outside Africa. And for some of these Africans, which I'm going to do this with because they call themselves Africans, but they don't really portray themselves as Africans. So for the rest of us who see ourselves as Africans and portray ourselves as Africans, it becomes a problem for those kind of people who say they're Africans but don't really believe that, think that they're Africans. So we who those of us who portray ourselves as Africans, we listen to our Afrobeats, hip life, high life, or whatever music that we listen to. We speak the language. We speak the language, speak all the different kinds of languages, converse with each other in our local dialects rather than always speaking English. Now, these Africans who think they're Africans but don't really want to call themselves Africans seem to have a problem with that, and I don't see why they should. Now, if you say you're African but you don't want to acknowledge that you're African, that is your problem. You should keep that one to yourself. For those of us who are proud to be Africans and actually show our African side by speaking the language or getting ourselves immersed with the culture, the music, the craze that goes on with, i.e. with Ghana and the Azonto madness. If we get ourselves immersed in that, they get upset or mad about it. And they say, why are you being this? Why are you being so African? And blah, 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 blah. What has that got to do with anything? If you don't see yourself as African, you don't see yourself as African. Don't come and lay your insecurities about how you feel about being African on us. If we're proud to show it, allow us to show it. Just step aside, because you are obviously not one who is proud of where you come from. For those of us who are, we are very proud of where we come from, and we are happy to share it amongst ourselves and with other people outside of our culture. We don't care who's around. Obviously, we'll be polite enough to speak the language if a non-Ghanaian is around us or a non-African is around us, so that they can also feel immersed with what we're doing, saying, and not feel like we are talking about them or whatever. But if we're all Ghanaians, why, and especially too, if we can speak the language, why would we have to force ourselves to speak English just to make you happy? I don't think so. That's not going to happen. And you can't come and accuse us of this and that, that we're being too Africans or whatever. There's no such thing as being too African. In fact, if we are being too African, it's a good thing, because there's so many people out there who are very cautious, maybe for lack of a better word, of admitting that they're Africans. They'd much rather prefer to say they're Jamaicans, or they're actually British, or they're American, or European, or whatever, wherever they based at. They'd rather say that than to actually admit that they're African, which to me is actually quite sad. Obviously, you can see me. My skin, white. I got dark hair. Most people can't tell I'm mixed race, for one. Number two, if they can tell I'm mixed race, they could never tell I'm African. And three, if they could tell I'm African, they could never guess which country it is that I'm mixed with. And you know, people like, it's very interesting when people find out that I'm actually African, and it's even more shocking to find that I'm more African than even somebody who is pure African, pure-blooded African. And that is just, I don't know, sad in itself. And people, Africans of all backgrounds, whether you were born in Africa or born overseas, whether you were born in Africa and you left the country and came overseas, or whichever way it is that you find yourself, you should be proud of where you come from. You should never have to beg for another country or nationality to be your own and disown where you come from, because you can never disown where you come from. You can never do that. Deep down underneath, you're always going to come from where you come from. And if you think other people are going to see you as anything other than an African, then you better change your mind, because once you're an African, you're always going to be an African, whether you exhibit it or not. People are always going to see it and not give two hoots. They will just see you and always see an African, no matter whether you tell them, oh, I'm British, oh, I'm from America, or Europe, or Australia, or wherever it is. It's, guys, I don't know, sometimes we Africans, we have a problem, and I think we need to get out of that thing of not being proud of where we come from. If you ask me where I'm from, I'll tell you I'm English, I'm Ghanaian, and I'm Scottish. If you ask me my nationality, I'll tell you I'm British, because that is my nationality. If you ask me whether I'm from somewhere else, because you can hear a twang or whatever from my accent, I'll tell you where I'm from. I'll tell you I'm half Ghanaian and I grew up there for a bit. That is why you can hear a little twang in my accent. It's not going to be a problem for me. I have no problem telling other people where I'm from. I'm very proud of where I come from, and I always exhibit it. And it's not a problem for me. If you are ashamed of me because I am African, then you have a problem. I don't. And it's nothing to me if you've got a problem. If you have a problem, you deal with it. You keep quiet and be on the sideline. Don't come and cause me havoc with your problems because you have issues with being African. I don't have any issues. Don't come and create one for me. And if I have any fans who do have problems with being African, you shouldn't. You should be really proud of where you come from. Nobody else can claim that. And you shouldn't be claiming where you're not from. If you were born in America, England, wherever outside Africa, fine. You were born there. That makes you British, American, or whatever. But you're still African beneath all that. So just if people ask you where you're from, say you come from you're from Africa, country, whichever one, but you're born there. Your nationality, if they ask you for nationality, you're American, you're English, you're European, da 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 da. But if they ask you where you're from, don't be shy in saying I'm from Ghana, I'm from Nigeria, or South Africa, Kenya, or any of the other African countries, wherever it is that you may come from. And in fact, I may be wrong, but every Nigerian I have met is always proud of where they come from. They never shy away from saying, I am Nigerian, I come from Nigeria, or anything, whether London born, American born, or born in Nigeria. They don't have a problem. But with Ghanaians and some other countries, African countries, we have issues. Why? I don't know. But that's something we need to snap out of and start being proud of our motherland.